I was an Air Force officer, a pilot, two babies, and we decided to get a divorce.
Just throw
Many
a
stressful things all piled onto one. And I guess when I look back, one of the main things I learned was how to be resilient.
welcome to Wild and Finally Fucking Free, hosted by me, soul-fueled storyteller Kylie Fatchett. We dive into the truth-talking, unedited stories of metamorphosis, growth, and evolution. I deeply believe that sharing our stories holds transformative magic. Join us to listen to future humans, change agents, extraordinary ordinary people, healers, and paradigm shifters as we honor the power of our messy, magical stories. Let's get wild and finally fucking free together. Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast, everybody. Today I have Robin Kulesza in the room. Hello, Robin. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to see you.
We just had to press record again because I didn't pronounce Robin's name properly. I'm so sorry. Would you like to introduce yourself, please, for those listeners that don't already know you?
Sure, sure. My name is Robin Kulesza, and I am a therapist or mental health counselor
Mhm,
in the United States,
mhm.
in the Chicago, Illinois area, if you're familiar with that. And I am also a coach, and I work mostly with just midlife women. That's
Mhm.
my focus. And as of late, looking at divorce recovery and trauma
Mm.
work.
Oh, even the language around divorce recovery, I'm like, this is going to be such a good conversation because I already know a lot of your story, and I'm just loving the fact that you've, yeah, been turning the light on such a big. And you were just sharing with me the statistics about divorce rising in later years as well.
Yeah, well, apparently gray divorce, which is a term I wasn't very familiar with until recently, but that's
No,
a divorce over 50. I don't know that I love the term,
gray
but
divorce. Wow, yeah, okay.
yeah, divorce numbers over 50 are apparently growing.
Wow.
And I imagine for many different reasons, including things like women are working and,
Hmm.
they have their own financial stability, and
Yes.
maybe it's easier to leave marriages. So, yeah, and I do work with women 40 and over because
Hmm.
I feel like that's when this whole midlife shift started happening for me.
Yep. I
Yep.
was actually writing something for a client the other day. We're talking about estrogen being the hormone of accommodation and servitude. So it does not surprise me that when estrogen starts to do its little roller coaster, but decline in the 40s, that often things come to the surface. And something we've actually talked about before is how much trauma can come to the surface in that midlife transition if you haven't already tended to it. Before we get to
Mhm.
that, I wanted to dive into, so this is not what you have always been doing. You have actually had a completely different career, like very different.
I know. I
Tell
think
us
I'm
a
a
little bit about that.
change expert at this point. Yeah. So I took a little side road in college and
Hmm.
entered the
Yes, you
the
did.
military. Yeah, in the United States, the Air Force is what I entered, and I spent 21 years there. I still can't believe it.
Wow.
With an intention of becoming a social worker early on. So I took a
Yep.
long pivot, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But now I've come back. Uh, but as I talk to people and reflect on it now, I realize so many life lessons that I learned over those 20 years have really become useful as I work with people now going through
Yeah.
really difficult changes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because one of a few stories that you've shared with me, a lot of them feel like they're about transformation and identity shift and going from one way of being. Because when you say, you had a career in the military, you were actually the first female pilot,
For
first
in
female.
the squadron that I flew,
Yes.
after training, there were certain roles in the 90s women could not get into, fighter pilots and getting into combat. Not what I did, but that's what women started to do. I went to a flying squadron that had only had men before. It was kind of scary, but so happy I went through it too.
How was that for you? Did you find that that was a real challenge? Did you fit in easily? Did you man up to fit in?
I feel like my goal was to get as far as I could without causing a stir, without causing conflict, because that's my nature. So I went in with this feeling of I'm just going to fit in and I'm going
Hmm.
to work under the radar. I don't, looking back now, I'm not sure I do it the same way now.
Yeah.
But I remember as I left that world, someone saying to me, I am so proud of you for just being yourself, remaining true to who you are, because I knew I didn't fit in a lot of ways.
Mm, yeah.
And so, yeah, it was challenging. I met a lot of wonderful men, my coworkers, and really I had some challenging events happen. They were few and far between, but yeah, they came up because of my sex, being a
Mm,
female. You know, she only got here because she's a woman. They
yeah.
had to give this job to a woman to meet quotas, things like
Mm.
that.
Oh, that's exactly
Um,
what my daughter's being told right now. Here we
okay.
are in 2024 and the same bullshit. Because God forbid you
That
can't
was
have a
gone,
woman beat
right?
you at something.
Right.
I'm interested as you're talking because I also know that you were a young mum in those days as well. So you balanced
Yeah.
career, well, military career and having was it two young sons while you were still? Yeah.
Two sons, and
Wow.
not only so I was an Air Force officer, a pilot, two babies, and we decided to get a divorce.
Just throw
Many
a
stressful things all piled onto one. And I guess when I look back, one of the main things I learned was how to be resilient and how to deal with
yes.
change.
Yeah, 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 definitely, definitely. And as you were coming out of that first divorce, because I'm interested actually, when you say looking back, I don't know whether I would do it that way now in terms of, staying true to yourself and kind of
Yeah.
trying to, you didn't say staying under the radar, but maybe my brain is just putting it into pilot,
No,
pilot
no,
vernacular.
yeah. I would still say true to myself, but I think
Yes.
I might have been a little more outspoken.
Hmm.
My nature, I tend to be a little more introverted anyways. That's my
Yes.
natural
Yeah, yeah,
way,
yeah.
but I'm sure you can relate to after 50, I really stopped caring as much what other people think.
Because you're out of fucks, Robin. No, I'm sorry, but the jar is empty. There is nothing left in
I
it.
think I cared a lot more at 23,
Yeah,
24 what people thought than I do now.
yeah,
So that's what I mean
definitely.
by maybe I would have been a little more outspoken or, a little more confrontational at times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. When you were talking about like avoiding conflict, and that is kind of your nature, do you find with the work that you're doing now with people that are in that midlife divorce end of things, is there some patterns of also I don't know. I'm imagining being blindsided if it's the other person that has made the decision
Mhm.
after many, many, many years,
Yeah.
potentially decades of marriage. But I was asking you before we started recording, it's like, if it's the woman that's being left and the man has found a younger model, for instance, which is what we were talking about,
Right.
is there a lot of anger? And I imagine there's like I'm just putting myself in this position. So I won't
Of
ask
course.
you in terms of everyone else, but I'd be like, I did everything that I thought I needed to do to be a good mum and a good woman and a good blah blah. Like I've ticked all the society boxes. So do
I
you
think
see the same conflict avoidance thing come up for some people?
yeah, definitely. I mean, let's face it. I mean, no, divorce is not easy at any age, no matter
No.
how long you've been married. It's just different depending on
Mm-hmm.
the circumstances. And the unique thing about these long-term marriages is you're right. You can totally be blindsided because
Mm.
look at your 45, 50, 55. You have your
Yeah.
retirement plans, you know where you're moving, your kids are out of the house. And then one day someone comes in and says, oh, I met someone else and I want a divorce. So talk about a major shakeup. I
Mm.
think at this age, we kind of expect, okay, we got things figured out, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then what's unique about this midlife time is not only we have maybe a divorce going on, we're going through menopause,
Uh-huh.
maybe we have a empty nest all of a sudden, maybe our parents need our help, job stress. It's just a lot of things all coming
Yeah.
together at one time.
Yeah. It's such a big I don't know, like in some ways, I even was noticing the pattern of my own thinking as I stepped into the shower this morning. Not that anyone needs that visual picture, but I often do deep thinking underwater.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, geez, I'm noticing all of a sudden, and I'm, what am I, 49 and two-thirds at this stage. Um, all of a sudden, I'm noticing that I am starting to not consider some things. So like, when I was younger, I was always wanting, and we did live overseas for a little while, but I always wanted to take our family on this probably 2 or 3 year trip around the world and just continue to work as we, traveled, etc. And now when I feel into that, I'm like, oh, but I really like home. And I'm just noticing in myself that I'm starting to kind of, I don't know whether it's narrowing or whether it's just being more familiar with what I need. But I
Right.
imagine if you have come to this kind of point in the road where, okay, I'm midlife and the things that I thought were going to happen are not going to happen because there's been this, either, and I guess it can also be, your own realization that this is not working for you. And so you're going to exit.
Right.
Then it's like everything's up in the air. And I am obsessively love change. So I'm a unicorn. I get that. And not many people are like that. But for people that are scared of change, that's like really freaking scary. The
It
thought
is
of
scary. And,
no.
and I work with a lot of, professional women who have gone far in their careers and are, the picture of strength and fearlessness and all this. But,
Yeah.
something like this happens, I call it a bump in the road, or it can
Mm.
bring you to your knees, an image like that.
Yeah.
It's really hard to focus on those other areas of your life. And even the sting of maybe a spouse finding someone younger.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
starting to have concerns about how we're changing and our hair is graying and the
Mhm.
body's moving
Yeah.
differently. It can,
Moving south.
so what I like to say is it's going to take a ton of courage and fearlessness
Mhm.
to get out of this funk that you're stuck in with this divorce.
Mm.
If you wanna be happy, I mean, you can
Yeah.
decide, "I'm gonna
Yeah.
just stay in this sadness forever," but there's so much more left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you, because I feel like midlife, there's a lot of losses that do happen. Like either you're potentially maybe losing people close to you or friends through. I've got
yeah,
two people I know at the moment that have just lost people quite close to them, like friends that have passed away from cancer. Potentially losing parents, siblings, like whoever, but also all of those, like maybe if you haven't, chosen to have children, and then even I know a friend of mine, like childless by choice, that very happily, have made that choice, but she has still gone through a grieving process of like, okay, this is that there is actually no chance that I will ever have a child of my own. Um, all these different losses, and I imagine that through all of that, when you add on a divorce as well, like, do you notice that people go through the same, the 7 stages of, they talk about 7 stages of loss or
yeah,
grieving. Is
yeah,
it the same
definitely.
sort of thing? Because I mean, this is a loss, right? It's a loss of
Yeah,
the future that you
I
thought you
talk
had.
about
And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there are little variations on the stages, but
Hmm.
it's a cyclical process, meaning, one day it feels great, the next day you don't want to get out of bed. And that could be just like you mentioned, a death, losing your job. Layoffs happen all the time. Um, Taking stock of your life and realizing 50 years have gone by and I didn't reach those, few goals I had. So it's the
Yep.
same process. We have denial, we have anger, we have bargaining. It takes a while to get to acceptance. And
Mm,
so yeah, very similar.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing as you're saying, because I every time I get to a significant birthday, I think, like, I remember being about 16, I reckon. And
Hmm.
I used to work in an ice cream store called Wendy's, which I know it's not the same in the States,
Okay.
but we have this pink everything ice cream store in Australia called
Okay.
Wendy's. And I was like the Thursday night, Saturday morning person. It's very exciting. First, like regular job. And I remember seeing these older teenage girls and they had car keys in their hands. And I'm like, that is when life is going to be like, it's all
Mhm.
figured out then. As soon as you've got car keys in your hand, like that is the pinnacle of growing up. And, then I got that. And then I'm like, oh, when I get to 30, I'll have my life sorted out. And then it changed to 40. And now I'm like, 50's coming. And I've still got the same feeling of just
Darn.
working
Yeah, I know.
it
How
out.
did you get here so fast?
So now I'm like, you know what? I actually am, I think I'm much more surrendered at this age to not actually understanding. Like people go, oh, my 16-year-old hasn't chosen their subjects because they don't know what they want to be. And I'm like, I'm 50 almost, and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So please don't put pressure on your 16-year-old. I
Yeah,
mean,
really.
silly.
And who said we can't, change what we want to do,
Exactly.
change our desires, our interests? I mean, that's the joy in life is
Yeah,
evolving,
absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And following that spark, because I think when I noticed that sort of narrowing of the, traveling the world, I was like, oh, is that because I'm getting like old and boring and set in my ways? But I think it is more so understanding, I still want to travel, but I want to be able to come home, not, be on the road for 3 years. When you say divorce recovery, when you think about recovery from divorce, even in your own experience, when you do get through, the obvious, the anger and the betrayal, dealing with whatever is the catalyst behind the divorce, what are some of the steps towards recovery? Like once you've actually like taken a breath,
Yeah.
what does that look like?
So, we've worked together on my trauma project. So,
Yes.
you know a lot about and that's my foundation, EMDR therapy, brain
Mm,
spotting, brain-based therapy. So, I do tend to take the approach of we've got to address the past, the present, the future for like a total solution, right? So,
yes.
in recovery, um, we're still gonna figure out like, okay, what happened to me? What did I learn? What adaptations did I come up with that are
Mm,
helping me and what's holding me back? And
yeah.
so I feel like that's really important not to ignore that. And if something is getting in our way now, let's say it's an old belief that I must be perfect. That's like a good example for women, I think. Raise your hand,
Raise
yeah.
your hands, people.
Who knows? Either it was told to you you need to be perfect, or you decided on your own one day. That makes me feel good to feel that I'm perfect. Maybe it's time to let that go. And how do you want your future to look? And so let's say you decide, you know what? I am good enough and I don't need to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
So then that informs what kind of plan you're going to have for the rest of your life. And so,
Mm.
so the three pillars, past, present, future.
Hmm.
I think dealing with old trauma, helping the nervous system to regulate the emotions,
Yeah.
get out of that feeling that we're stuck or living in survival mode.
Hmm.
And then once we're past that, then we can start dreaming about our future after 40, after 50. What do
Yeah.
you want to do with your life? What's your
Yes.
purpose? What makes you
Exciting.
excited about life? And so then we work on creating your next
Yeah.
plan, right?
Next
Or second
plan.
act, as they call it.
As you're talking, I feel like I've spoken on this podcast before, so this is no new news for people. But being someone who has gone through significant childhood trauma, I feel like when you have trauma in the background, and that definitely informed my own desire for perfection as a protection mechanism. Like if I stay perfectly perfect, the people around me will not be as unstable and
Right.
chaotic as they, which
Right.
of course is, just sets you up to be someone who's disconnected from their own feelings because you have no space to be in them.
Well,
But
but it made
when
sense at the time, right?
100%, and that was actually something that was a huge part of the beginning of recovery from the not the damage, but the I don't know, the start of the unfolding of the trauma for me was actually understanding, because I had always blamed myself for the patterns that I had as a kid. Like it's like if I had just, why did I let that person's need be more? And it's like, well, A, you were like 3, but also it's an
Right.
adaptation mechanism, right? So, and that's what,
Yeah, it's a
when we were,
survival skill, it's a
yeah,
defense mechanism, whatever you want to call it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a good thing. Like it's not something to
Mhm.
blame yourself for.
It served you
However,
well at one time,
yes,
right.
at one time, and now it doesn't. But as you're talking, like when you're talking about like trauma being on board, for my personal experience, it had always felt like being hyper vigilant and therefore quite a spiky person. Like I needed to keep people away from me so that I could feel like I could deal with things, because I was always so afraid that if someone kind of triggered something in me that I would just fall in a heap and not be able to deal, right? And now I know, of course, I will deal, and but the trauma healing, the resulting feeling for me in my body is this like softening of it. Like I just feel like I'm so much more, yeah, soft and open and willing to be present rather than worried about
Yeah, that's
protecting.
a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
I can relate to yeah, even
Yeah.
now, as you say that, I'm feeling it.
Yeah, well that's what I'm
It
like,
it's
yeah.
being at ease in your own body and not being afraid to
Yes.
feel things.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And trusting yourself. I think that that's the
Mhm.
softening as you begin to let go of those trauma patterns. You actually realize that the deepest part of you, like the authentic part of you, has actually got it. Like you can trust that you can deal with things, and if you can't deal
Yeah.
with things, that you also know how to get support, or the things that can help you. I'm really interested to hear, because I know that not everybody understands how EMDR and also brain spotting works, and maybe just take them one at a time. When you think about EMDR, like what attracted you to that sort of therapy? Because I know that you did, originally you wanted to be in social work and you had multiple,
Right.
versions of therapy/counseling that you've done, but EMDR is something that you've really connected to and use a lot.
I think it was just my own experience as a, baby counselor. Generally, you're put into those really challenging jobs,
Yes.
community mental health or going to people's
Oh,
homes, doing home visits, or
yep.
I work with children in the foster care system, meaning
I
the
remember.
state had taken custody,
Yeah.
residential treatment for children with just severe trauma, mental health issues. So it was traumatizing to me to not
Yes.
have enough skills in my tool bag to feel like I was making a big difference.
Yeah.
And, I did the best I could, but it wasn't until later as I came upon EMDR and took some training, I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. They aren't depressed. They have unresolved trauma.
Trauma. This is,
Right.
yeah.
And what that is, it's something has been stored in the body improperly from a distressing event or repeated
Hmm.
exposure to abuse, let's say. It hasn't been resolved. And when things happen today, you're triggered and you feel like you're back there just like it happened
Yep.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And so that's how I landed there. And
Wow.
and I've
I
just seen
love,
so
yeah.
many, yeah. I've done it myself too. I've gone to my own EMDR and I wouldn't, I wouldn't talk about it and use it with clients unless I had found it useful for myself too.
Yeah, yeah. So can you
Um,
talk us through the basis of the therapy? Because my understanding is, and I have done it in therapy a couple of times, but I haven't really done too much of it. But it's using eye movements to disrupt the stored trauma pattern. Or I'm
Yeah,
probably
eye
murdering
movement
that.
is no.
Please explain.
It's like a really long. It's eye movement
Mm,
desensitization reprocessing. So it's a mouthful.
yes.
But it started with that left right eye movement. But now we can have people tap on their knees, left, right,
Mm,
or tap on their shoulders. Or when I do virtual therapy, we use a ball on the screen that goes back and
yes.
forth. So it's engaging the different parts of the brain. And if you think of unresolved trauma like a blood clot, we are slowly helping it disintegrate
Mm,
by, and what's beautiful is the client doesn't have to discuss the details of the event.
yes.
All they have to do is, pick a moment in history, focus on it while I lead them through these movements
Hmm.
and, the process. And the idea is, today you can talk about your story, but you're not triggered. Your body isn't triggered.
Yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. I feel like because I started to try and see psychologists in Australia because we don't really have therapists as such, more so. Well, I guess I know there's overlap, but when I went to see a psychologist at say like 21, because I was like, this is not normal that when my poor soon to be husband leaves a towel on the floor that I rage at him, and because it was re-triggering like my needs don't matter. I always have to take care of everyone, blah, blah, blah. Like these huge stories in my head. And this poor man is like, what the hell just happened? And so I'm like, I know that this is not normal, right? Okay. So what do I do about it? I'll go and see a psychologist. But going to see a psychologist just required me to talk through every single event that I thought might have something to do with this. And I remember the first session I had, I walked out and I had been sobbing for an hour or 50 minutes or whatever. And I felt worse than when I came in, and it actually almost put up the defenses even higher. It was like, oh, that's painful. So now I'm going to be even more spiky about anyone coming anywhere near my emotional state because I
Yeah,
don't want
so
to
you
do that
felt
again, right?
re-traumatized is what
Mm.
I'm hearing.
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
this isn't something I learned in my master's degree
No, I
program.
know.
So there is a gap there, and I'm hoping, with time, more and more psychologists, therapists are learning these brain-based methods, and brain spotting is
Yes.
another one,
Yeah, tell me.
somewhat similar. Yeah, it's based on where you gaze with your eye
Mhm.
determines how you can access information or stored memories. And so I like to think of it like if you look in the right spot, it's like opening your junk drawer at home and everything
Yeah.
starts falling out.
Yep, 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 yep. Pandora's box. That's the one I was scared to open, Robin.
Yeah, yeah. It's very complimentary. It's something I've done more recently.
Mm.
It really helped me. I cried. I mean,
Yeah,
cried, but it's gentle in that the client
yeah,
really controls what you're working on. And
yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
really same thing, back into the body. How's the body feeling? How's the
Yes.
stress response lighting up
Yeah.
as think of these images, these thoughts, these memories?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, as you're talking, I'm like the gentleness of these techniques versus that straight, like, go there and talk about it and redo
Yeah.
it. And, for years, people can be doing this for years in talk therapy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'd rather stick a fork in my eye than be re traumatized every week on a Tuesday at 10 o'clock. But as you're talking, because your nature is so gentle and warm, I'm like, oh, of course, this is the type of, you know, not treatment, but therapy that you're drawn to because it's so much more gentle. Like you're working with the body and you're not trying to like fight against any of this memory.
Yeah.
When you're working with a client and releasing the trauma, like if you go back to that blood clot kind of
Mhm.
analogy, like we're dissolving, dissolving, dissolving,
Mhm.
what type of things start to unfold when they leave the room, they go back into the world? What does the release of that trauma start to open up for people? Hey, gorgeous. We interrupt this gold for a delicious invitation. If your whole body has been whispering more lately, more voice, more truth, more satisfaction, more clients of the soulmate variety, more cash, more you, then this invitation is for you. Potent, my sister mind is officially open. This is my high touch, holy fuck, I'm ready sister mind for rebels in good girl clothing who are done outsourcing their power and diluting their magic to fit into someone else's business formula. If you have been craving a space where your strategy, your voice, and your energy all get to be offered, honored, refined, and amplified, this is it. Inside of Potent, you will get my eyes on your business every single week, copy mentoring, and that is for brand copy and content storytelling that turns your truth into client catnip, energetic recalibration that helps you unhook old learned limitation patterns, keeping you quiet, not being seen, not being heard, real time, high touch, one on one coaching that actually sees the bigness of your vision, and the kind of sisterhood that does not flinch when you show up in your full, messy, brilliant, phoenix rising from the ashes glory. This isn't surface level support. It's deep, potent, paradigm shifting work that changes who you are as a woman in business and a woman in life. We start in August. Early open access is open right now. For the month of June 2025, inside of this early access open doors period, you will receive juicy bonuses, extended payment plans, and access immediately to my entire library of storytelling gold. You'll find all the juicy details at kyliepatchett.com/potent. And we fill spaces, and there's only 10 of them, and more than likely only 5 by the time you listen to this, because by that time I will have offered them to the existing cohort, the beautiful original OG circle. We do actually take applications on a first come, first served basis. So come and apply, and let's get back to the magic of the episode.
I feel like people really understand themselves so much better. You talked about because we really spend a lot of time up front figuring out what are your patterns, what are the things that make you feel safe in your world. For
Mm-hmm.
example, you know, I'm not going to argue because that causes conflict, and I don't like
Yes.
feeling like there's a fight going on. So I'm very good at stuffing my feelings and keeping my opinion to myself. But then what people start noticing is they're like, oh, I know why I've been doing that. That's how I stayed safe in my childhood
Mm-hmm.
home, but it doesn't serve my marriage very well because my husband wants to figure things out,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Or I'm keeping quiet
Yeah,
on things that are important to me and not even speaking my needs. So
exactly.
therefore, how can
Yeah.
anyone hope to meet me?
So it really, I think, I love hearing people tell me, you know what? I realized that was my pattern. It was getting in my way. So I started just slowly moving in the other direction.
Yeah.
And they're just noticing better relationships. They're not afraid of things. They're not
Mm.
assuming the worst is going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I feel for me too that it stopped a lot of the knee-jerk reactions that I had to things. Like it
Mm-hmm.
actually introduced or interjected a pause where I was able to observe myself more and go, oh, wow, that actually feels really uncomfortable. And I know what's coming out of my mouth next is actually like a wounded part of me trying to, like, you know,
Yeah.
yell or rage or whatever, cry. And really what I need is to step away, calm myself
Yes. You're
more and
catching
have the
yourself
tools.
much sooner. Yeah.
Yeah, because then because I think one of the most awful things that I found being stuck in a trauma cycle was that I would wound the people I cared about the most. Like,
Mm, yeah.
and then then there's this guilt and need to repair all the time. So I got very good at saying sorry, but I'm like, wouldn't it be really good to not actually do the thing that then felt like I
Yeah.
had to apologize? Like I just, and that was an awful feeling because that was when I started to kind of have thoughts of like, well, maybe I'm not a good person. Like maybe I'm just like a rotten, like there's something actually, oh, still emotion behind that. Like something is actually wrong with me, right? And then when I
Yeah.
started working with someone that actually understood how to release things, I'm like, oh my God, there's nothing wrong with me. These are learned protective mechanisms that worked really well as a kid and don't work now. And I want to have a, happy relationship. So I'm going to need to learn how to undo some of these.
And I didn't mention also the other large piece of it is, we'll have you identify what are those fearful beliefs or, I'm defective, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure. They really
Yeah.
bring up a lot of emotion, but then we can say, how do I want to feel in the future? I want to believe that I'm successful, I'm
Mm,
lovable, I'm worthy of good things. And that's the amazing turnaround you get with EMDR.
yes.
If you stick with it, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I just love this. Can you talk also, because I know, and I'm not sure if you still do it, so we might need to delete this bit, but do you still do EMDR intensives so that you can actually spend a longer
Yes,
time together?
yes.
Yeah.
I
Can you
actually
talk
did
to
my
that?
own. I don't know if I told you about that,
Oh,
but
no.
So an intensive, it's a name that is even people have given to doing many hours at one time. So
Mhm,
let's say, anywhere from 3 hours in one day to
mhm,
5 days in one week. So it's a
mm.
very, it doesn't mean you're working harder or it's
No.
more difficult. It just means more hours. And it's
Mhm,
good for people that have tricky schedules
mm.
or are tired of waiting and don't want to
Yeah,
do therapy for months.
that was me. I
Um,
was like, "Can we just
I
get in?"
yeah, I'm kinda like that too, Kylie. I'm like, "Let's just get this thing done."
Yeah.
It's really good for people that have a talk therapist they love, because I mean, so many people do, and they have no intention of leaving, but, then they'll come see me for these intermittent sessions to do some
Yes.
of the trauma work,
Mhm,
and that's a
mhm.
nice combination, so,
Mm,
yeah, I did one
love
myself. It
that.
was 6 hours with a lunch
Wow.
in between. I felt so tired, but I felt so
Yes.
good at the end, yeah.
Oh, so good. So good,
Um,
so good. Um,
yeah.
when you're working with people in divorce recovery, because you mentioned before that one of the things that you do is, you are looking at, is there any trauma under the surface that's kind of informing some of the things that have happened in the past, I guess. But also, I wonder if people are also going, well, I don't want to make the same, in inverted commas, mistake if I then want to re-partner at some other later
Yeah.
date. Um, so what sort of, I mean, we're talking about human beings, so obviously we can't categorize people, but is there overarching themes of things that are underneath the surface when you start doing this trauma work?
I think so. And that's why, I mean, people will advise their friends, oh, don't jump into dating right away. It's a personal decision, but I would
Mhm.
say generally, take time because
Mm.
everyone had some kind of role in this
Yes.
this marriage that wasn't functioning well,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so I think, it can be our behaviors or how we approach problems, or like we talked about, conflict avoidance, maybe really not knowing how to put up healthy boundaries in a relationship. So
Mm.
there are many skills that I'll include in like my coaching program as women
Yeah.
go through this. It just gets you pumped up and ready. So you're not feeling that desperation to not be lonely. You're
Yes.
healthy, and then the relationship's just a bonus,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 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 Because it's getting
Yeah.
to know yourself again. And
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
what do I want? Like, well, like we were saying before, like, okay, so you go through the, denial, anger, all of that sort of stuff. But when you get to the acceptance piece, I guess the next question is, well, how do I want this next phase of life to even look and feel
Exactly.
like? Because I'm not in a relationship. I don't necessarily need to be concerned about someone else's needs right now. So what do I need for myself?
Be
I
the
imagine.
healthiest you. I
Yeah.
call it a reboot, actually. I'm calling it the
Yes.
midlife rapid reboot. So
I
it's
love it.
in midlife. The reboot means we're kind of like taking stock, and then
Hmm.
we're seeing what needs to be tweaked and
Yeah.
getting it done. And then we're
Yeah.
ready, whatever you want. Maybe it's a new career. Maybe it's you're ready to travel. Maybe you want a new partner. So then you're ready
Yeah.
to welcome in those things. Yeah.
Ah, so good. So good, so good. What do you think when people are, I guess, maybe more towards the recovered end of recovery, and I know that that would be a journey. I hate that word. It's so overused.
I
Journey,
know.
journey, journey. But towards
Yeah.
the more healed or more recovered end of the kind of
Yeah.
spectrum,
Yeah.
when you because I'm like, I know one of my friends, when she got divorced, she went and traveled the world and did these like amazing art trails. She's an amazing pastels artist, and so she just dived into this creative,
Oh,
juicy era of just, I'd still remember, it's probably 10 years ago now, but these gorgeous vistas of her with this easel and pastels and this like Italian countryside. And I'm like, can I just skip to that bit? I don't want to get divorced, but I want to get to
right.
that bit. So what's the type of things that open up for women when they do the work on getting to know themselves and what's next for themselves?
I mean, think about how many women have maybe they've gone right from their parents' home to their marriage. They've never had time on their own. And
Mm-mm.
think you're a mother, I'm a mother. Who came first for so many years? Our
Oh,
children. our
Definitely not
spouse,
us. Hmm.
we're the caretakers, and, there wasn't time to really, put ourselves first at times, and so
Hmm.
this is new, and I think, women sometimes I'll hear them say, "I don't even know who I am at this point." It's like starting over, I'm a kid, right? And
That's exciting to me. I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
who do I want to
yeah,
be now?
what kind of eggs do you like?
Yeah.
How do you like your meat done? Just basics. And
Yeah.
it's a mind shift for sure. And it
Mm,
may feel uncomfortable at first to say, I'm gonna put my needs first. I'm
yeah.
going to figure out who I am. But think about it. If you're secure in who you are, if you're happy, that's what you're putting out to the world. That's what you're drawing into you.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
I
just made
think
me take a
everyone wants
nice
that,
deep.
just to be happy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just to be happy and settled in yourself, I think. And I do think that the piece of self-trust that if we allow midlife to have its way with us, like I do feel that the design of the menopause experience is we're going to strip away everything that doesn't work, or at least put that in your face, and then you've got a choice. And I think there's a lot of freedom on the other side of that, but it's God, it's messy in the middle, isn't it? Like I
It
do,
is.
yeah.
I mean, I went, yeah, for me, I call it my own crazy period
Mm,
because I can't even put words to who I was at that
yeah,
time.
yeah.
But I try to let women know they're going to get through it. You will
Mm,
get to the other side and jump into the future, right? You get out of the
yeah.
past and
Yeah,
jump into.
100%. Oh, I think my lifeline, so this podcast is almost 2 years old, and it's been my lifeline in a lot of ways, because when I was talking to women who were, further on in perimenopause or postmenopausally, they would constantly say that, like, it is painful sometimes, but it's also powerful, and there's also so much positive on the other side, and you get this greater sense of like your own magic and power on the other side. And so I held onto that like a blinking life raft at times, like, please tow me towards the menopause.
Get to
Um,
the other side. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm still not there yet, but I do feel as I settle more into my skin, I have a sense that, that maybe I'm totally making this up. Could be, but I just feel like the end is coming in terms of like the catastrophically chaotic internal landscape now feels a lot more calm, and I just think, well, maybe we are at the tapering end.
That's good. Me too. Me too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a little older than you, and it's things are settling down.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
All these.
clarity, I think, the clarity around the work that you're called to do as well. That's I actually wanted to ask you about that. When you say, your own crazy period, for you, what have been the clarities and the benefits on the, like, towards the other side of things, like the work that you're doing is getting clearer and clearer and clearer, which is one of the beautiful things.
I feel, I'm not sure I'll ever get there where I'm
Yeah.
100% clear, of course, but from one of my mentors, I've taken this idea of it's just experimentation. There's no failure, right? As
Yeah.
we try different things. For me, it was starting some businesses and changing my career. But if it doesn't work, it's just not for me. And it's kind of an attitude shift, right? It's not
Yeah.
a failure.
Yeah.
We're just we're just experimenting.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
we only have one
so
life
much
to
more.
live, and it's not long, right?
It
So
isn't long. I think that's the other thing that happens, isn't it? It's like, okay, I'm almost at the 50 mark. My plan is to live until at least 91, which is my dad's age. Like, that's always been my plan. And I have aunties and uncles in his family that I think there's two left, and they all got to 90 something. He's got one of
wow.
nine, right? So, oh no, that's not true. Sorry. Two of his brothers died early from accidents, but the rest of them, natural cause deaths, 90 plus. So I'm like, okay, I've got 40-ish years, right? And I'm not expecting that I'll slow down a huge amount like a lot of people expect to, but I definitely know that you have less energy. Like, I definitely feel that already.
Sure.
So I'm like, with my precious resources, what do I actually want to experience, and what type of life? And it's actually become so much less about not material, but like the achievement driven, and more about, well, what gives me contentment or satisfaction, or
Yes.
like, I do think that And that, I think that comes from the softening of not living from a trauma, but also
True. And the
older.
being able to be authentic
Yeah.
and yeah, and when we don't have time for us, but when I went through some of that trauma, I didn't have a guide. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a therapist.
I know.
It wasn't a possibility for me at the time because of my career. And I don't see a reason anyone should do this alone.
No.
And having someone to motivate you and help you walk this path is so helpful.
Oh, so helpful. And especially when that person can be both a way shower and a cheerleader, but do it in a gentle way. That's not, because I do think that, like when I started coaching a long, long time ago, like back in the 2009, 2010, it was very Tony Robbins, yeah, we're going to fix everything and like that very, what's the word? Like a very masculine kind of like there's an end point and there's something to
Right.
fix.
Yeah.
And I feel very grateful that the general coaching industry, not everybody, but generally, I see this more softening awareness of somatics, awareness of working with the body and the brain. And so it's not about getting to a particular place, it's more about how we're experiencing the world and feeling. And I think there's so much power in that because it's like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we all just
There's
want,
definitely a need. Yeah.
yeah, the same sort of stuff like
I
happiness,
like how you
connection,
said that. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes
There's
sometimes stuff
moments
comes
for
out.
the hoorah, but there's moments for the gentle. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think the hoorah for me has always been driven by perfection though. I think that
Okay.
that's the
Yeah.
dangerous part. Like it's like I am going to get in and I'm going to fix everything. And I think I share your viewpoint of the experimentation thing. I've gone down a little bit of a human design sort of rabbit hole. And one of the things I'm learning about the way I'm designed is that I'm meant to like suck it and see, like try it. And it's like, I don't know if it'll work unless I give it a go. And then
We might be the same
that's what I
human
was thinking
design
as you
type.
said that.
Manifesting generator.
Oh, I'm a generator, but I'm a 3-5.
There
So
you
the
go.
3-5 is the like the constantly trying. And I always used to make myself wrong for failing all the time. Like if I could just stick to something, why could I not just? And I'm like, oh no, that's actually,
Old
yeah,
thinking, Kylie.
yeah, I know,
Oh
right?
my gosh, how interesting. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
very, very cool. It has been an absolute pleasure, as I
Oh,
knew
I
it would
love this
be.
thing. Anytime I'd be happy to
Uh,
visit. Thank you for having me.
Do you know, I've actually been thinking about doing some more like round circle-y sort of chats on this season because, yeah, I really think there's so much wisdom to be gained from other women in this midlife transition. And yeah, feel
Yeah,
into
there's a
that. I'll
need.
give
There's
you
a
a call.
need.
Yeah, exactly. Honesty. And I think, you know, like I was just saying about the life raft for me in these conversations, like I would love to pay that forward. Because I kind of like I'm looking at the experiences that my daughters are having. So they're 19 and 20. And yeah, one of them has gone from our house straight into her first relationship. They've just bought a house. So it's like, and a part of me is like, oh, I hope you get the space to kind of get, and, but I'm like, hello, you've been parenting this person for a long time and you know damn well she's not going to listen to anything you say anyway. But that sort of, you know, the experience of the 40 and
Sure.
50-year-olds for the,
Well,
you
right.
know,
And if you're not in a family or friends that talk about this stuff,
exactly.
it's
Exactly.
wonderful to have mentors out there.
Oh, so good. So good. So good. Please tell everybody where to find you and your midlife
Yes.
divorce recovery rapid reboot. That is such a cool name. I love the
Yeah, her
language behind that.
divorce, midlife rapid reboot. So my coaching website, it's
Yes.
www.herdawningcoaching.com. And
Oh, so good.
you can call me. There's a way to book a call with me there. And yeah,
Yes,
be
thank you
happy
so
to talk
much.
to you.
Now, just to be clear with everyone, even though we've talked about both therapy and coaching for the coaching side of Robin's business, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. So even if you're listening to this in
Correct.
Australia,
Yep,
you can still work with Robin. I highly recommend it
that is
because
correct. Thank you
she's
for
a
pointing me.
wizard. She's a trauma recovery and divorce recovery wizard. So thank you so much.
Thank you
Very,
so
very,
much.
very grateful. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to Wild and Finally Fucking Free. I'm Kylie, your host. And given that I know you would have enjoyed this episode, please do us a favor and subscribe, leave a review, and share it with fellow freedom seekers. Remember, being seen in all our mess and magic helps heal ourselves and the world, because the world needs more wild and finally fucking free humans. Have a great day.